Ladies and gentlemen, in the pursuit of excellence, many look outward, they study competitors, they chase outcomes, but the secret to leaving everyone behind is not in chasing them. It is in mastering yourself. Let me share with you 5 habits, simple in form, profound in impact. Practice them not for a day, not for a week, but until they become who you are. These 5 habits are not tricks, they are inner disciplines. Master them, and you will not just compete, you will lead. In the quiet moments before the world awakens, there exists a space where transformation is possible. This space, often unnoticed, is the early morning, when most people are still lost in dreams or scrolling through distractions. The few who rise with purpose begin the day already ahead. The greatest advantage is not gained through speed or aggression, but through alignment with yourself. And that begins when you own your morning. Waking early is not about productivity for its own sake, but about reconnecting with who you are before the demands of the day shape you into someone else. If the first thing you do is check your phone, respond to messages, or absorb the noise of the world, you've already handed over your peace. Instead, when you wake early with intention, you become the architect of your state of being. You build a foundation of clarity while others are reacting to chaos. In Shaolin tradition, the morning is sacred. It is the time to cultivate the body and the mind, before either is affected by external distractions. The air is still. The mind is receptive. The body, though at rest, is ready to awaken with breath and movement. A simple practice like Qigong or a mindful walk allows you to align your inner world with the rhythm of life rather than the pressure of time. This doesn't require perfection or hours of training, only consistency and sincerity. Even 20 minutes of solitude with your breath and thoughts can recalibrate your entire day. You see, it's not the hours in a day that determine your strength in any field. It is the quality of those hours. And the quality begins with how you enter the day. If you wake with stress, you invite tension into every task. If you wake with clarity, you carry calm into challenge. So the secret trick to leaving others behind is not to compete on their schedule. It is to build your own rhythm so strong that the world begins to move around your presence. Many say they are not morning people, but this is a story repeated until it becomes belief. What you are is not fixed. What you are is trained. If you wake late and rush, your mind becomes reactive. If you wake early and prepare, your mind becomes responsive. The habit is built not in the comfort of sleep, but in the strength of purpose. And purpose is not something you find, it is something you return to every morning. Your morning is the moment to check in with your energy, to ask yourself what matters today, not what is urgent, but what is essential. Before the emails, the tasks, the meetings, or the goals, there must be silence. Silence allows you to hear the direction of your own soul before the world tries to sell you its version of success. In that silence, you find power, not loud power, but still power. When you practice movement in the morning, not intense or forced but aware and fluid, you awaken your internal energy, your blood flows, your breath deepens, your awareness sharpens. You become not just physically awake but mentally alert. This is not about doing more, it is about being more. When you are in tune with your body and mind, even simple actions throughout the day become purposeful. You begin to make decisions not from urgency but from knowing. When others are chasing the clock, you are grounded in discipline. When others are lost in reaction, you are steady in response. Owning your morning is not about domination over others. It is about no longer being dominated by your own distractions. You become immune to the chaos that pulls people in many directions. You begin the day having already won the first battle, yourself, and from that victory, all other victories become possible. Own your morning. Own your path. The path of mastery is not carved through ease, but through the willingness to face what others avoid. Each day presents a choice, a moment where you meet resistance. It may appear as a task you've delayed, or a conversation you've postponed, or a challenge you silently hope will pass without your involvement. Yet it is in these very moments that your growth hides in plain sight. The hard thing you avoid is not your enemy, it is your mirror. And the one who has the discipline to do the hard thing first gains a power that cannot be taught, it must be lived. When the morning is owned, and silence has been honored, the day opens itself like a blank scroll. The brush with which you write upon it is your attention. If you spend it avoiding discomfort, the story you write becomes one of survival, not strength. But if you walk into the fire first thing with steady breath and quiet courage, then everything else begins to feel light by comparison. It is a simple principle, but one that most overlook. Begin with what challenges you, and the rest of the day becomes manageable. Begin with comfort, and the day controls you. In the tradition I come from, discomfort is not something to fear but to train with. A Shaolin monk does not wait for motivation, he does not rely on mood, he sees the resistance and steps into it because he understands that the hard thing is the gatekeeper to all progress. It is for purification. Each act of doing what is hard rewires your inner structure. You become less shaken by pressure and more anchored in presence. Modern life gives you many ways to delay the hard thing. Endless choices, constant information, notifications that pretend to be urgent but pull you from purpose. The hard thing rarely shouts. It waits, quiet, patient. It knows you will either grow from it or hide from it. And each time you choose to face it, you reinforce the identity of someone who is not controlled by fear or laziness. You become a person others trust, not because of what you say, but because of what you do without needing applause. The truth is that most people are not defeated by lack of talent. They are slowed down by hesitation, by the delay between knowing what must be done and actually doing it. And in that delay, life moves on, opportunities vanish, energy drains. But when you make it a habit to go straight to the mountain instead of walking circles around it, you gain time, you gain clarity, you gain inner peace. Because your actions are aligned with your deeper intention. You don't need to force yourself with harsh discipline. That is not the way. The way is to understand the value of friction. It polishes the stone, it strengthens the limb, it focuses the mind. The first difficult thing each day may be small. It may be writing that first sentence, making that first call, practicing that first skill, repetition. But once done, it opens the gate to momentum. And momentum is a sacred energy. It doesn't come from outside, it comes from that first courageous step. Some people wait for the perfect mood, the perfect energy, the right weather, the right time. But you must understand, none of these things are needed. What is needed is your willingness to act regardless. Because when you lead with discipline, the mood follows. When you start the fire, the warmth comes. Do not ask for motivation, build integrity. Do not wait for ease, create strength. You train your mind to respond, not with avoidance, but with grounded action. The hard thing reveals your relationship with yourself. When you avoid it, you betray your potential. When you face it, you respect your future. That is why doing the hard thing first is not just a habit, it is a spiritual act. It is the honoring of your path. It says, I will not be ruled by temporary comfort. I will not be moved by fleeting resistance. I choose growth over ease. And from this place you move with certainty. Others may appear busy, but they are often circling the task that truly matters. You, on the other hand, cut straight through. Not because you enjoy struggle, but because you understand freedom is on the other side. And when that becomes natural, when your body and mind no longer flinch at difficulty, but greet it like an old companion, then you are ready, ready to rise, ready to lead, ready to leave behind those who wait for permission to begin. Do the hard thing first, and the rest will bow to your strength. Act not from comfort, act from purpose. In a world that moves faster each day, where noise fills every corner of our time, it is not speed that grants power, but stillness. The one who learns to remain calm while others rush, who remains present while others react, gains a clarity that cannot be bought or borrowed. It must be built from within. Inner stillness is not passivity. It is not silence for the sake of silence. It is the quiet strength of being unmoved by chaos. It is the ability to see clearly while others are clouded by confusion. When you begin your day with intention and you meet discomfort with courage, the natural next step is to cultivate this stillness so that your presence becomes unshakable. In the Shaolin tradition, we train the body to serve the mind, and we train the mind to rest within awareness. Movement and stillness are not opposites, they are partners. In every punch, there is a moment of stillness before release. In every breath, there is a pause between inhale and exhale. These pauses hold power. These gaps between the noise contain the source of your strength. Most people live in constant reaction. A message arrives and they respond. A headline appears and they absorb. A minor problem occurs and they spiral into stress. This is not because they are weak, but because they are untrained. When the mind is never still, it becomes sensitive to every ripple. The smallest wind feels like a storm. But when you train to be still, you become like the mountain that watches weather come and go without being moved. And stillness does not mean ignoring life. It means responding from depth, not reacting from fear. This habit begins with simple practice. Sit without distraction. Close your eyes. Listen to the sound of your own breath. Notice the thoughts that pass, but do not follow them. Watch them like clouds drifting in the sky. Some will tempt you to chase. Others will try to convince you to judge. But if you just remain where you are, without grasping, without pushing, then the mind starts to settle. It will resist at first. It will tell you to move, to check, to think. But if you stay patient, a different quality arises, a quiet that is alive, a silence that sees. That silence becomes your anchor. When tension rises in your day, you return to it, not by leaving the world, but by breathing within it. You speak from it, you listen from it, you act from it. This is how stillness travels with you. It is not left on the meditation cushion. It enters the boardroom, the gym, the street, the home. You carry it like a flame that does not flicker in the wind, because the fire is held in place by your awareness. Stillness sharpens your perception. When others are overwhelmed, you notice what matters. When others overreact, you discern the right moment to speak, to act, to move. This is not something you tell others. It is something they feel in your presence. You become trustworthy not because of your words, but because of the space you hold. That space is built by stillness. In the absence of inner stillness, ambition becomes restlessness. Even your goals begin to exhaust you. But when you bring stillness into your pursuit, there is focus. You do not scatter your energy in 1,000 directions. You channel it like a river narrowed by rock. It flows deeper, more powerfully, and without wasting force. This is why stillness is not luxury, it is necessity. Stillness also teaches patience. In training, in growth, in mastery, nothing blooms overnight. Those who chase fast results often burn out or give up. But the one who is still knows that the seed grows beneath the soil unseen, that preparation is not failure, that waiting is not weakness. When you trust the process and stay grounded in stillness, you develop an inner compass. You move when it is time. You pause when needed. You know because you are connected. This habit requires nothing outside of you. No special place, no special time, only willingness. 5 minutes in silence can shift your entire day if done with sincerity. It is not the length of the practice, it is the depth of your presence. Stillness is the return to your original state before the world told you who to be, what to chase, what to fear. From that state you become strong, not by tension but by alignment. And from that strength, everything becomes more simple. You know what to focus on, you know when to rest, you see through distraction, you are not faster than others, you are clearer, and that clarity becomes the reason you rise while others remain lost in noise. Practice stillness, not as escape, but as foundation, and you will find that the greatest power is not in doing more, but in doing with presence. Let silence guide your strength. Most people repeat, but few refine. They do the same task the same way each day, hoping for change yet feeling the same results. Repetition without attention leads to stagnation, but refinement with awareness leads to mastery. This is where the separation begins. The one who leaves others behind is not always the one who works the longest, but the one who works with the most precision. Excellence is not built in hours, it is built in intention. To refine rather than repeat is to become a student of your own actions. It is to notice not just what you do, but how you do it and why. In the earlier habits you learned the value of presence in the morning, the power of doing the hard thing, and the strength found in stillness. Now you must apply that presence, power and stillness into your daily work. You must not move through your tasks with blind speed, but with sharpened focus. You must become deliberate. Repetition creates rhythm, but refinement creates art. You are not here to simply move like a machine. You are here to grow like a monk. The monk does not throw 1,000 punches just to sweat. He studies the angle, the breath, the stance, the intention behind each movement. Each time it becomes better, more complete, more true. This mindset changes everything. You begin to see your actions not as chores but as opportunities. You begin to value quality over volume. Instead of asking how much, you begin to ask how deep. Instead of rushing to finish, you start to slow down to understand. You make fewer mistakes not because you are lucky, but because you are engaged. This engagement builds confidence that is not loud but steady. Others may seem to be ahead, but their foundation is weak. Yours is rooted in understanding. Refinement begins with observation. To refine, you must first become aware. You must ask yourself after every task, what did I learn from this? Where was I distracted? Where was I strong? What could be improved? Not with judgment, but with curiosity. You do not criticize, you examine. You step outside your action and look back as a teacher would. This habit transforms repetition into wisdom. You no longer practice just to finish, you practice to evolve. Most people repeat because it is easy. It gives a false sense of progress, a sense of motion without direction. But you are not here to be busy. You are here to be effective. Busyness is the enemy of mastery. True refinement often looks slower on the outside because the energy goes inward, but over time the results become impossible to ignore. The refined person needs fewer attempts to reach the target. The refined person moves with less but achieves more. This applies to every field, not just martial arts. In business, in writing, in speaking, in relationships, the same law applies. Refine, do not just speak. Refine your words. Do not just work, refine your process. Do not just train, refine your focus. Each area of life becomes a mirror. Are you just repeating patterns, or are you refining your path? You will find that most setbacks do not come from lack of action, they come from lack of attention. To refine also requires humility. You must be willing to admit that you do not know everything. that you are a work in progress, that every action, no matter how familiar, holds something new to be discovered. This humility keeps your mind open, it prevents arrogance, it protects you from the blindness of habit. The moment you think there is nothing to improve is the moment growth stops. But the one who refines sees no end to learning, and they are always tuning, always adjusting, always deepening. This constant refinement builds inner pride, a quiet sense of dignity. You begin to trust yourself, not because of perfection, but because of your commitment to precision. This trust becomes visible to others. They sense it in your work, in your tone, in your walk. It is not about showing off. It is about showing up fully, day after day, not because someone is watching, but because you are watching yourself. You also begin to find joy in the process, not because it is easy, but because it is meaningful. When you refine, your work becomes an expression of your awareness. It becomes a form of meditation. You lose the need to compare because your focus is internal. The joy is not in being better than others, it is in being better than you were yesterday. And in this way you begin to separate without trying to compete. You grow without needing to announce. You lead without needing to chase. Because your path becomes clear and your skill becomes undeniable. Repeat and you remain the same. Refine and you become unshakable. Let precision guide your evolution. There is a strength that cannot be taken away, a discipline that does not depend on motivation, a power that does not need to be loud. This strength is built in silence when no one watches. It is the habit of finishing what you start, of staying consistent when the feeling fades, of walking the path not just on the first day but on the 100th. The difference between those who rise and those who remain is not always talent or timing. It is the quiet habit of never stopping when it no longer feels exciting. It is the commitment to show up even when no one claps. You have already learned how to own your morning, how to face what is difficult, how to find stillness, and how to refine. Now you must commit. You must do it again and again and again. This is the final step, the one that transforms effort into identity. You are not what you say you will do. You are what you do repeatedly. Consistency turns the kind of presence that leads without speaking. Most people start with energy but they lack structure. They begin projects they don't complete. They train for a week then disappear. They post their goals but live without rhythm. They confuse bursts of effort for growth. But true transformation is quiet. It builds like a stone path, one step at a time. It does not ask how fast, it asks how true. One step repeated with clarity becomes unshakable. That is the real secret. You do not need to take giant leaps. You need to take the small steps every day, without excuses. The monk trains not when it is convenient, but because it is the way. He does not ask if he feels like practicing. He does not ask if he is inspired. He does not seek reward. The repetition itself is the reward. The consistency builds something deeper than strength. It builds trust with oneself. To be consistent is to be reliable. When your body knows that you will move no matter the weather, the mind follows. When your mind knows that you will act regardless of mood, the heart learns stillness. And when the heart finds stillness, others begin to feel your energy without words. Many people look for secrets, for shortcuts, for magic formulas. They ask what to do. But it is not the method, it is the rhythm. A poor plan done consistently will outperform a perfect plan done rarely. Repetition creates mastery, but consistency makes it last. Without consistency, nothing sticks. Even your best ideas will fade if not practiced. Your strongest decisions will lose power if not sustained. Consistency does not mean doing everything. It means doing the right thing again and again, until it becomes who you are. This is not always exciting. It is often quiet. Sometimes lonely. You may feel invisible. But understand that the greatest growth happens in silence. Muscles build when no one sees. Focus deepens when no one claps. Mastery begins when you keep going long after the feeling has gone. The feeling is not your guide, the habit is. And once the habit is built, the feeling often returns stronger than before. There will be days when everything feels heavy, when motivation is gone, when distractions feel louder than purpose. These are not signs to stop. These are signs to continue, to stay with your breath, to do the movement anyway, to keep the promise you made to yourself. The world is full of those who almost did something great, who nearly changed, who started strong then disappeared. But the one who keeps going even when it is not easy becomes the one others cannot ignore. This consistency also teaches humility. You do not rise by talent alone. You rise by effort repeated. When you keep showing up, you realize how much work it truly takes. This humility grounds you. It protects you from arrogance. It keeps your energy clean. You no longer need to impress. You just do the work. That kind of quiet discipline creates real respect. Respect from others, yes, but more importantly, respect for yourself. It also builds peace. When your actions match your words and your effort matches your goals, there is no tension inside. You no longer feel guilt about what you didn't do. You no longer wonder who you could become. You are becoming it. And that feeling is priceless. It gives you a sense of certainty, not because everything is easy, but because you trust your direction. You do not need to be the loudest. You do not need to be the fastest. You need to be the one who stays, the one who moves with rhythm, who repeats the simple things until they become powerful, who does the work when no one watches. That is the one who rises while others fall back. Consistency is not a punishment. It is a gift. It frees you from needing to start over again and again. It removes doubt, it builds fire, and over time it makes you unstoppable. Stay with the rhythm and you will carry the silence of strength everywhere you go.